What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the Playerz Spartech MMA Sparring Gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have one of the most popular pairs of MMA sparring gloves I've ever had requested on the channel, and I'm excited to continue our Playerz Boxing gear review series with the Playerz Spartech MMA sparring gloves. And when I say these gloves are popular, I mean they're very popular. I've got emails about these, tons of private messages with questions about these, and on top of it, I get comments on things that have nothing to do with combat sports on my Instagram page asking me where are the Spartech reviews. And then when I reviewed the Power MMA sparring gloves, some of the comments even said we wanted the Power, we didn't want the Power first, we wanted the Spartech first and stuff like that. I didn't know, but you know, here we are now. I kept you waiting long enough for it, I guess you could say. And these are very popular pairs of gloves, and you've probably seen some of your favorite fighters recently if you follow them on social media, such as Tom Aspinall and Ian Machado Gary, actually training in these gloves as well, which is awesome. So they are very popular over in the Europe region, and also especially the UK, and we'll go into that why when it comes to Playerz Boxing as a brand. But I unboxed these gloves about 4.5 to 5 months ago. At the time, it was like late December, and I was still only about 2.5 to 3 months post-op, so I couldn't wrestle completely yet, so I couldn't use these gloves the way they should be used, the way I like to do reviews. I always tell you, pro fighter gear reviews is the idea. I use them as I would in a training camp, and so that's the whole idea behind my reviews, and I just couldn't do that. But for the last 3 months, I got cleared to train full-time, and I'm in the gym every single day again, which is great. So I had finally put these gloves through their paces the way they should be put through their paces. So in this case, I'm excited to finally do the review and do it the right way, because for me, if it's able to last through a pro training camp, it should be able to last for, you know, a casual user, an amateur, or anyone that's doing whatever they're trying to do. But in this case, Playerz Boxing, really awesome brand because it's owned by a fella named James, and I really learned a lot from him talking to him about combat sports equipment, and it's, trust me, very rare you get to actually talk to people about that know what they're talking about, and in this case, James knows a lot more than I do, and here's why. Not only does he compete and train in every single martial art you can think of, between wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, you know, MMA. I'm pretty sure he's had MMA fights as well, and he still trains actively in all those, but he's also worked with a lot of different athletes in fitting them for equipment because he owns Fight Equipment UK, which I've ordered from several times. I've ordered several Venom products from them. I ordered the Sandy gloves I just unboxed on the channel, and a bunch of other things from Fight Equipment UK over the last like 5 years for me, but he's owned this for I think about 20 years or a little bit over 20 years, and he's very passionate about combat sports equipment. So imagine you have a guy that not only knows what he wants when he trains, but when everyone else trains, especially world champions, like I said, like Tom Aspinall and top contenders like Ian Machado Gary. So you have that he gets to work with, and so his whole goal was to kind of see what all those different brands did and then combine it into what he found people liked the most, which I think is genius. But he's also humble in his own way because he knows that Playerz Boxing equipment isn't going to fit everyone's mold. He knows that, but his goal was, what he told me, was that it would work for everybody. If you had to use it, it would work for you, keep you safe, and would also not break the bank either. And that was his big goal, was to make a professional brand that didn't break the bank, that was budget friendly, but at the same time did everything that everyone else should be doing, right? And that was the cool thing about learning from James on combat sports equipment, about how some things work. Then on top of it, what his whole goal with Playerz Boxing was. And lo and behold, here we are. We have the Power MMA Sparring, the Spartech MMA sparring gloves. I'm looking at the Power now. Now, before I continue with the review, because I kind of gave it away a little bit with this review too, a lot of people ask me, because I flat out said these broke my top 5 favorite training gloves I've ever used as far as MMA goes, and people ask me, are they that much better than the Spartechs? And my answer is, no, they're not that much better. And in fact, I say they're about the same. If not, they might be better for some. And here's why. I just prefer flatter curves when it comes to my MMA gloves. That's just my personal preference. That's why they're my favorite. But in my opinion, these are just as good as these. So like I said, I don't like giving away all the time before I start the review even. But these gloves have also cracked my top 5 favorite MMA sparring gloves and MMA gloves, period, as far as training goes. They're very versatile. Not only are they a puffy glove that you can, spar in, but you can also hit the bags in them, pads. They're incredibly durable, and I've really enjoyed using them. So congrats to Playerz Boxing right off the bat for having 2 pairs of gloves in my top 5 already. So, James, if you're watching, for what it's worth, I've loved these gloves. But going into the actual model I have for you guys today, I got them in the white and black coloration in the XL size. And of course, since they're MMA gloves, they don't have a lace-up closer, though there are some brands making more lace-up gloves for MMA now. I don't like that because it's kind of annoying, but that's besides the point. And again, you can get these just like the Power in 4 different sizes: small, medium, large, and extra large. I like that because a lot of brands are going the way of small/medium, L/XL, probably to save on like production and stuff. The only thing is, what if you have a small glove and it fits more like a medium, or what if you have massive hands and it fits more like a large, right? Things like that. So I like that you have 4 different sizes, and they have a really convenient sizing chart that you can see right on the website. Very easy to navigate. It tells you, the measure from your tips of your fingers down to like your palm and stuff, wrap around your hands too. Some people don't like that system, but it gives you a pretty solid idea. At least it'll tell you what to look for. But XL fits my hands, and my palms are pretty wide and fat. My fingers are short, but my palms are wide. And for reference, if it helps you, my rings are size 14. So I also know that Tom Aspinall uses XL, and I'm pretty sure that guy has bigger hands than I do because he's much larger than I am. He's like 6'4". I think he walks around at like 260. I'm 6 foot even, maybe 5'11" if I'm being generous, at about 265 right now. So I'm a bit shorter and more compact, I guess you could say, but I'm fat. But that's besides the point. Colorways, you can get these in the white and black like I have here, the nice Arctic white, but you can also get them in black and white, so they kind of switch the color scheme around. You can also get them in a neon green and black. The black is a solid color with the neon green, and then you can also get them black and neon orange. Orange is my favorite color, so maybe I'll buy them down the line just because I can and I want to. But again, for your reference for the rest of the review, this is the XL size in the white and black coloration. Now we go into the look of the glove. You can see here that Arctic white really looks nice on the camera. It is nice, and it eats the light perfectly, and you turn it around and you can see that really nice red lining. It's kind of like that song for God of War, Blood on the Snow for me. I really like finding symbolics and all those things. But here on the back, you can see we have a really solid dark void black that really fits good on the back of the white. Reminds me of like the Quincy's and Bleach kind of. And you can see we have the crown going throughout here. You got the spikes. It goes from smaller, bigger to biggest. You also have that nice separation of the headpiece. So when you turn it, it kind of gives you that nice 3D effect. And then below the headpiece, you have the black star there, and the other black stars on the side. They're smaller there, bigger in the middle. You also have this little design here, which I don't really know what that is or what it's supposed to be. Maybe it's a type of vented foam that they have on the inside. Feels solid, but it could be vented under there. Or maybe that's the Spartech logo. I don't know. I would say that, but then when we come over to the strap, you can see it says Spartech right there. And that tells you what that is. Then on the other side of the strap, it says Playerz Boxing, and that's all sublimated into the microfiber composite. The piping of the glove is all black. And same thing when you go to the fingertips, you have white finger guards and you have black piping for the finger guards as well. Same thing when it comes to the thumb here, and on the inside, you got the thumb strap there. And then when we open it up, you can see that amazing, it's kind of like the Power that was, it was yellow and black, but now it's red and black. And it looks awesome. It's more like a grayish color, actually. It could be the way the light reflects off it, but it is a really deep, like blood red color, and it looks awesome. And I love how that looks in comparison with the white. For me, that is a color scheme that I never thought I would like so much until I took this glove out. And it is a pretty, it looks lavish. I don't know, it just looks really rich. It looks like it's from the future. Now, the other thing about this glove, similar to the Playerz, is that the right glove is slightly different from the left in the design, and that you can see here, it says XL with a crown stamp right there, telling you what size it is. And then on top of it down here, it gives you a little red crown stamp there, and it kind of basically tells you what the glove is made out of, which I will now read for you. Because I could zoom it up there, but I wouldn't be able to say it. But it says sparring and training, comfort, protection, and control, grapple safe, hook and loop, wrist support, impact protection, foam padding. And that's what that says there. If you want to try and read that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. And that's basically what you got there. So overall, the glove has a pretty cool design. I love how it looks, and overall, and even the Velcro on the other side, because of how white the glove is. It's like super vibrant white. The black part of the Velcro even looks like it's a part of like a black hole. It's really, really cool. When I open the glove up, the other side of the wrist strap is black. And just like the Playerz, it has a tag, once again, proving to you, in case you doubted me, it is still an XL glove. So that's awesome. Now, going into the make of the glove, like the overall build of the glove, the one thing that I started with the Playerz was that I like that they have what I call butterfly design. As you can see when you open it up, and it kind of looks like a butterfly flapping away. It's in 4 separate parts. You have the door hinge style knuckle that gives you really freedom and mobility to make a nice natural fist, and your fingers are free that way. You also have the wrist on the back here, and that's nice. That way your wrist has freedom and mobility even from your fingers, so everything's as independent as it should be for your hand. Then on the side, you can see you have a strap to give you a nice natural punch position with your thumb, so your thumb is also independent from the rest of your hand as well. And then you also have the buckle on the side here. So overall, it has a really nice, comfortable design to kind of act more like an extension of your hand rather than a glove on top of your hand, which I always like. But moving on, we talk about the outer shell. Just like everything else I've shown you by Playerz Boxing so far, is made out of microfiber composite, which is what a lot of sports are going for now. Like basketballs are made out of microfiber composite. A lot of people in, apparently hockey are using microfiber composite now for their equipment. Volleyball, soccer. It's a very, very versatile product because it's not like vinyl, in that it's like feels plasticky and kind of like what you would feel on like a nice vinyl floor. This feels like leather and only man-made, but it's very, very similar in leather feel. Even has like the little bumps and grooves that you can see going throughout the material. They kind of give it those grain feels. But the nice part about microfiber composite, from talking to James, was it's a lighter material and it's more durable than natural leather, which he's right, because leather is a very durable material, but you got to take care of it. If you can't take care of it, it's going to fall apart. Leather at one point was living skin, so you need to moisturize it, condition it, make sure that it's good, because if you don't, it will crack, break, and flake away, and that is not good. Once that starts with leather, it is impossible to get it back to where it was. Trust me, I wish there was something you can do with it, but there's not. Whereas microfiber composite was man-made to take a beating and survive in acidic environments. So it was meant to survive sweat. It was meant to survive getting twisted and turned around. It was meant to sit in a bag overnight if you had to, right? Things like that. You should still take it out. But the idea was the material was made to be very, very, very durable. And that's why a lot of brands are going that way. Playerz Boxing is not the first one to do that. Just behind me, there's Everlast, the Elite Gloves, and you also have Hayabusa uses what they call Vylar, but that's microfiber composite. Onyx Sports uses that, and Trevor Whitman even talks about the best part about microfiber composite is it's lighter, so you can focus more on the padding and the protection of the glove, which I think is awesome, because leather, again, skin, very heavy. The other part about microfiber composite is that it's very flexible. So if you're grappling and stuff and you're grinding onto the mat and like you're going on the floor, you can see here that it's very stretchy and it moves freely with the rest of the glove, which is absolutely awesome. Very easy to clean as well. Just like vinyl, all you gotta do is kind of wipe it down with a disinfectant wipe and you should be good to go. Then when we move on to the padding, unlike a lot of other MMA sparring gloves that just use IMF Tech foam, which is injected molded foam, they do have that, but it's a dual core IMF Tech foam basically. And they basically say the dual layer is this. You have the IMF Tech foam layer, but you also have a layer over top of it that keeps it in better shape. Because the thing is IMF Tech foam It's cheap to use for one and put into gloves, and it's also very protective. They basically take one solid piece of foam, they inject it with a type of gel, and then it kind of just forms into the one solid piece, and it's very, very thick to separate your knuckles from the target, and it also stops shock from getting to your knuckles at all. So you're separating your target here. As you can see, we got really thick padding even for an MMA sparring glove, which is really nice. And so when I push into this, unlike most IMF Tech foams though, it's actually really soft and it breaks in beautifully. Most of the time IMF Tech foam kind of just stays the same, and in this case, because of that dual layer, it actually breaks in a lot easier, because the top of the layer, I would like to say, I could be wrong, but it's just how it feels to me. When you poke towards the top here, like on the side, it feels softer, but when you push in, it feels a little bit firmer. So I do think there's a softer layer of foam that's going over top of the IMF Tech to kind of make up that dual core system that you have going on with the padding. It's very thick padding, very nice and protective, which is great for knuckle support. And on top of it, that overhang doesn't go so far over your fingers. So later when I show you, when I put my hand on the inside, the overhang of the padding gets a little bit thinner towards the front. So you can still make proper grips as well. So it doesn't sacrifice your grappling near as much as other gloves out there. Now, talking about the back of the hand and the wrist support, this is where the glove shines as well. Very protective of your knuckles and your wrists, because back here we have really firm EVA foam. That's EVA foam is kind of like wrestling mats, yoga mats, stuff like that. It's a firmer foam that really protects the back of your wrist, and it's not firm enough to where it won't close like this, so it wraps around the back of your hand. And so basically, the shock stops with the knuckle padding, but it will travel down to the wrist and disperse out. That way it keeps your wrist nice and compressed, which is always good. And you also have a really nice strong wrist strap here, which we'll talk about in a second. You also see on the thumb here that you have 3 pieces of EVA foam similar to the wrist backing here. That way it protects your thumbs from smashing your thumb improperly. Maybe you're going for a shot and you go to jam your thumb, and you got 3 really nice pieces that mold really well with your thumb joints as well. So that's really good for a natural punch position, and also to keep your thumb nice and protected. And what I mean by having that compression on the back of your wrist, similar to wrapping your hands, bones, veins, ligaments, arteries, all those things usually pop upward, especially bones. They go up like that when you break. They don't go out like that. They come up like this. So you compress it so it stays there. You keep everything there. People think it's just for strict, oh, it's for knuckle padding. No, in fact, if you look at most hand wraps, it almost doesn't emphasize the knuckles, because the gloves do the job of that, right? If you look at old school wrapping hands, they go over the knuckles like 3 times. It's so thin, it doesn't do anything. If you need the extra padding, that's why you got knuckle guards and stuff. Sometimes you can do the fold technique, but usually fight wraps are the only ones that really add a whole layer of padding to protect your knuckles, because the gloves don't do it in that case, most of the time anyway. But in this case, you have really nice compression in the back of the wrist because of that nice firm EVA foam that you have on the back here, and that also travels all the way down to the back of the wrist here. Now when we open the glove up, we can see we got all those finger guards, which I'll talk about when I put the glove on. But where this glove really shines is, I'll show you right here actually. I already got the glove open. You can see here, most MMA gloves that have that buckle system would have metal, but watch this. It bends because it's made out of rubber. Genius design in my opinion, because sometimes when you have metal buckles, they literally pop out, and it sucks, because sometimes when they pop out, they can cut and scrape your partners. And that actually happened to my teammate the other day. His popped out, and he had to go tape it so it wouldn't hurt anyone. But in this case, it's made out of rubber, and what's good about that is not only do you have the nice really thick wrist strap here too, and it's short, and it still curves over your wrist perfectly. It feeds through. But when I put my hand on the inside of the glove here, you can see, since it's not metal, it actually moves more, so I can really pull it tight and have even better wrist support. So it's not just the convenience of not having the buckle pop out, it's the convenience of I can actually strap the glove on even better now. Then we were talking about the interior lining. They call it their non-slip lining, which is a really nice, soft, and plush lining. And they call it the non-slip because although it's soft and plush and feels like a satin pillow almost, it's made out of a poly cotton. Your fingers will not slip out of the glove because it still has solid grip on the inside. The finger guards are separate but combined at the same time, because you can see that we have the individual slits going throughout, but you have the bar that keeps them all there. It's a nice little grip bar. And the one thing I like about it is each finger can move very independently compared to some other gloves. The only thing is, anatomically, my pinkies are messed up, as you can see. I think I've just come to that determination while doing the channel, so thanks for everyone making me feel deformed. But my pinkies are very, very short. I have fat fingers, but not long fingers. So naturally, my pinkies don't really move as much, and that's with every glove I find. But in this case, my fingers are very, very free, and I can still get a nice open and close feel, and my wrist is still mobile. So it's a very mobile glove, and compared to a lot of other big puffy MMA sparring gloves, they are not so bulky on my hand, and they actually fit basically right on my wrist. So they have the same type of fit as like a fight glove would, as far as it doesn't eat my whole forearm, but it still has that nice puffy padding. So I like how they emphasize that. And of course, if you need to wrap your hands in these, I don't always, just because I guess I just don't. But usually commissions will tell you 2 fingers. You take that and you put it on the inside of your glove. And if you can close your fist with that over your knuckles here, you have plenty of room to wrap your hands up. And I have wrapped my hands in these, obviously for review purposes. I want to make sure that you're able to do that. And I have plenty of room on the inside to do that. Now, if you had like a knuckle guard and stuff, most MMA gloves won't fit that. But a good padded MMA wrap, when you like wrap around and make a pad out of the gauze themselves, that's fine. You know, that works pretty well. But with that said, let's go ahead and go into the bag work, and then we'll come back to my final thoughts on these gloves. So the one thing that you're really going to like about hitting the bags with these gloves is how balanced they are and how they fit your hands, similar to a fight glove in size. And on top of it, they have the same protection that some boxing gloves don't even have, which is absolutely amazing. The knuckle padding is incredible. The wrist support is great. You can really nail the bag as hard as you want. And I mean it when I say it. I try and break my hands when I do these parts of the videos, just so you can see how great they are. They're very well balanced. They feel really light for a big glove. And in general, I have absolutely loved using these. I'm able to work all my stuff, hit the bag as hard as I want, let my hands fly. And on top of it, the grips, if you're trying to get the clinch work on bags, is great too. I have absolutely loved these gloves when it comes to bag work. All right, when it comes to the look of these gloves, like I said, that really nice Arctic white with the black crown is awesome. The grips are pretty good. Obviously, the palm-to-palm grips are the best grips in gloves like these, and you can still get under the neck really good, under the arms really well as well. And in general, these gloves just look sharp. I like the futuristic looks with like the little bars and stuff at the bottom, and it's telling you all the Spartech things. I was showing you there, you can still fire your fingers out in any glove possible. You can still eye poke, but this glove does curve that quite a bit. I think you're really going to like how sharp these gloves look, and I think your partners are going to enjoy getting punched by them. All right, folks, my final verdict here for the Playerz Boxing Spartech MMA Sparring Gloves is just like I said at the beginning. They are already in my top 5 favorite MMA training gloves I've ever tried. I think they are very protective. They cross all the boxes off for me as far as safety goes, for me and for training partners. And they're also very versatile. You're able to use them when it comes to bags, pads, sparring, anything that you need to use them for. And they allow you to do every aspect of mixed martial arts, from striking to grappling, very easily and interchangeably, which is awesome. There are a lot of bulky MMA sparring gloves out there that just don't do as good a job as these so far, and I'm excited to talk about them. And the first thing I want to talk about is actually the fact that these have solved a lot of the problems that big bulky MMA sparring gloves have. Now, puffy gloves, which is what this design is called, the puffy MMA sparring glove, have that big, overly pronounced boxing gloves type padding that's up towards the top. But even boxing gloves aren't usually this big, bulky, and rounded like this, but you need to comprise a lot of padding into one solid part of a small surface, which can be hard. But a lot of gloves will kind of mess up with that because they'll use the IMF Tech foam, which this glove does, but it's too hard, and it's hard to move the glove, open and close, get solid grips, and on top of it, they don't really break in. This glove actually breaks in like a boxing glove would, and unlike a lot of other MMA gloves that don't break in that easily, these stay broken in once you break them in, and they don't firm up or anything over time, which is awesome. They only soften. The other nice part is they're not overly bulky, and I think back to the Yokow MMA sparring gloves I tried that were just massive. They were bigger than their boxing gloves, you know, that they have. Their Muay Thai gloves, I should say. They were like down to here on my arm, and that's way too far for an MMA sparring glove, because then you basically have a boxing glove with exposed palm and fingers, and that's not what you're looking for. You need something that can strike with easily, open and close to get grips for wrestling, jiu-jitsu, whatever it is you're trying to go for, and also have good enough quality to where it doesn't feel like you have to sacrifice your performance for the glove's lack of adaptability to you, the user. The other thing I'd say about this glove is it's not overly long on the arm, just like I was mentioning. There are some gloves that I really like, but they're just huge on the arm, whereas this really only goes about an inch, maybe 2 inches past your wrist bone, which is a perfect length for me. So it feels like an extension of your hand rather than something eating the top of your hand, which I think is awesome, because there are so many good MMA sparring gloves out there. Like a great example I can think of is the Sandoval Gold Strike, which is made pretty similar to this glove, but it's a lot bigger and it feels bulkier on your hand. It doesn't open as much, and again, the padding just doesn't break in like this glove does. And on top of it, I like that this has like an MMA fight glove height. You know, maybe it's a little bit taller than some MMA fight gloves, but it basically has the height of an MMA fight glove, so it kind of replicates that feel. And as you can see, it's kind of conical, like I said earlier, meaning that it gradually gets a little bit bigger towards the top. The other thing with these is the grappling, right? A lot of the times when you have the big puffy sparring gloves, you can't really reach through to different tight spaces, you know, maybe going for a high crotch or a single leg, and, you know, they're trying to close off their legs to you, or they're trying to separate, and you're not able to really get a solid grip. This glove is great for situations like that because the padding actually moves to the pressure that's being put on it. So say you're going for like a Darce choke and you're trying to plunge through the shoulder to the neck, right? Basically, the padding on the back feels to me anyway that it moves in a bit. That way you're able to actually grapple functionally. And I don't know if they did that on purpose, but that's genius for me. The other thing that they did different that I think every single MMA sparring glove should start doing is that rubber buckle that you have down here, so you're able to easily secure wrist support, and on top of it, it doesn't have a metal buckle coming out and giving your sparring partner tetanus. That's something that you don't want. The other qualities that I really love about the glove, just overall qualities, are the protective factors of it. I think the padding is absolutely awesome, and they protect your knuckles perfectly, and the padding on the back of the wrist also keeps your wrist stable, at the same time able to have decent mobility and be able to move your hands and fingers around solid. That's one thing that I've absolutely loved about these gloves so far. The other thing about it, besides the protective factors, obviously it is a bigger padding, but it stops shock from getting throughout the rest of your arm. It doesn't really wear on your shoulders or anything. And you still have some give to the glove. So when you punch, it still has good give when, say, you're punching the bags or pads as well. And on top of it, the padding, compared to a lot of other IMF Tech padding, doesn't break apart, fall apart. I've seen guys come in with those combat corner sparring gloves I reviewed, and within a month, they're bubbling and falling apart. Granted, I take much better care of my equipment than I think a lot of people. I mean, my office is humidity controlled, for God's sake. You know, that's a bit far for most people, but for me, I put a lot of time, money, and effort into this, and this is like my life's work. So I'm taking care of all of it. But in this case, the padding is super durable. The outer shell is outstanding and easy to clean, and for a white glove, there's not a mark on either of them. And even if there was, it was very easily able to be wiped away, which is nice too. These gloves do not mark up easily, and it's because of that really nice high quality microfiber composite. I've even seen these exact gloves that Tom Aspinall was training in, and I'm trying, maybe I just can't see the angles, but I'm looking at him training and I'm on his YouTube channel and stuff, and I don't see any marks on his either. So I think that's awesome that you have that. Very easy to wipe down as well. The interior lining is super soft and it doesn't stink at all. It does not maintain odor well, which is a good thing. And it also doesn't maintain moisture well, which is a good thing. It gets rid of moisture very easily. So you're really able to just kind of take it out of your bag, let it air out. And trust me, because I always do this for the reviews, in case you didn't know, I actually take these, keep them in my bag overnight after one training session and see how they are. And they were still reasonably dry afterwards. Granted, my bag's a little bit vented, but still at the same time, they were still pretty dry when I took them out. There's plenty of room for hand wraps if you need the extra padding for your knuckles, although I think the padding of the glove itself does a great job. And I like that they have the really nice solid padding that actually moves with your thumb on the outside as well. And the wrist strap is solid. Overall, the protective qualities and the durability of the glove is amazing. And the price point, $72 is what you can get these gloves for, and I think the other colors are $79 to $80. I think that price point is a steal, and there are other gloves out there that go for much more that aren't as versatile. Like one thing that comes to mind is the Asami pounding glove. For me, the best pure MMA sparring gloves is that, and that goes for about $150 now, plus shipping and everything. At the end of the day, you're probably going to pay about $200 for them. And you have to wait a long time, whereas these are readily available and they're only $70 to $80. I think $80 is a solid price point for it. If they went for $70, even better. I'd buy them every day of the week and twice on Sunday. But these gloves are absolutely awesome for the price, because you think of other gloves out there like the Combat Sports Max Max Strike go for about 60 to 70. Sandoval Gold Strike go for about 100 to 120, depending on what they're going for now. You know, Fairtex has gloves that goes upwards of $80 too. And this glove for me is the best versatile glove for overall training and sparring. You can, again, go hit the bags and pads and go right into a sparring session right after. And the padding's not going to be broken down over time, and I think that's nice. So I'd give them a really solid shelf life of at least 2 years, so long as you take care of them, and I think that's perfect. I think $70 is a really good price point, and you get your money back at that point as well. So I've really enjoyed these. Negatives about the gloves people might ask me about, and the only negative I can think of is if you don't like the overly pronounced puffy gloves, then I mean, it's just not the right glove for you. But it's still, like, for me, there's not much to complain about, if I'm honest. It does everything you need it to do, and it does it better than a lot of other gloves out there. That's more of a personal preference for you. If you don't like the overly puffy glove design, then I would just say get the power, right? And these gloves are dead even with me. I like these slightly more because I like the flatter curves, and that's why I'm saying it. But that's my one negative critique. If you don't like these, go with the power, and I think you'll like them. But that's basically it. So realistically, are there that many negatives? No, for me, there's not. I think the fingers are perfect. I think the grips and the mobilities are perfect. The safety's perfect. Everything about the glove for me is the way I would like a glove to be designed if I were to train in it. Obviously, some of you may disagree if you got these, but I don't think you disagree in saying that this would be a phenomenal glove, which is why I give it the rating that I think it deserves, which is a 10 out of 10. S-tier excellent glove. One of the best MMA sparring gloves I've ever used. I already cracked my top 5. I can't wait to use them a lot more, and if they last as long as I think they're going to, they definitely will be my 1 or 2 alongside the power here. So again, for what it's worth, James with Fight Equipment UK and Playerz Boxing Equipment, for what it's worth, you have 2 gloves in my top 5. I think a lot of people would really like using it, and I think they also have a really great advantage to get these out to more people, which I would love them to because of how good they are, with a guy like Tom Aspinall using them. And I'd like to know Tom Aspinall's personal opinion on these, honestly, as a heavyweight too. They're true to size, they fit great, they're very protective, they're solid, and for the price point, I think you're going to struggle to find something better. And on top of it, the grips are awesome, and they don't have like the overly pronounced, like, curved over padding like all the other gloves out there do. So I really enjoy that about these gloves. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I answered all your questions, but of course, if I didn't, put them in the comments below and ask away, and I will do my best to answer them. And of course, follow me on all my social media pages and message me on there. And also, some of you guys have been utilizing my email a lot more lately, so feel free to reach out to me on there, and I will answer any questions that I can hopefully answer for you. And on top of it, please hit the like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Those are very easy 3 clicks for you and 3 big steps for the channel. We're already at 11.6 thousand subscribers, and I'm starting to hit the ground running a little bit more. 2025 was a rough start, and we're starting to look up from here, which is awesome. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. As always, thank you for choosing your source of combat sports. I've been your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow with the Combat Corporation. As always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.